Yeah.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. In 2003, the first junior council person, Jacob Ramsey, recommended that the Borough Council establish a scholarship fund for students in the Borough of Franklin Park. The funds for the community scholarship are raised by the borough from ad revenues generated by borough newsletters, private donations, and through participation in the annual golfing. No tax dollars are used. Scholarships were first awarded in 2004, and since that time, the borough has awarded $186,000 in scholarships to 187 high school seniors from Franklin Park. The 10 students who were chosen to receive scholarship this year have all demonstrated a high level of academic performance, extensive involvement in the school community, and provided countless hours performing volunteer work to benefit others. The following students have been selected to receive a 2023 Franklin Park Community Scholarship. As your name is called, please come forward and tell us what your post-high school plans are, and if attending college, what you plan to study. Ms. DiGiacomo, our current junior council person, will now read the names of the scholarship recipients, and Mayor Dennis O'Keefe will make the presentation.
All right, I plan on going to Penn State and I'm going to study finance.
Sophia Huar, North Allegheny High School.
Hello, my name is Sophia Huar, and I'm attending the University of Pittsburgh to study business. Thank you.
Sophia Collins, North Allegheny High School.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I'm going to the University of Tennessee to study business, probably like supply chain management.
Braden Kushner from North Allegheny High School.
Hi, my name is Braden Kushner. I'll be going to Penn State to study computer engineering.
Sophia Mienzo from North Allegheny High School.
I'm Sophia. I'm attending the University of Rochester to study chemistry. Thank you, guys.
Sierra O'Neill from North Allegheny Senior High School.
Good evening, my name is Sierra, and I'm attending the University of Pittsburgh to study digital design and narrative. Thank you.
Anshul Shah from North Allegheny High School.
Hi, I'm Anshul. I'll be attending the University of Washington to study computer science.
Taylor Susich from North Allegheny High School.
Hello, my name is Taylor and I will be studying finance at the University of Tennessee. Thank you.
Eric Toledo from North Allegheny High School.
Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be studying neuroscience at the University of Pittsburgh. Thank you.
I should also mention that there was one other winner, Liam Ellis, who will be attending Aquinas Academy, but was unable to attend this evening. We would also like to recognize the members of the Scholarship Selection Committee who have spent many hours reviewing all of the scholarships. Annette Blanar, Rick Chiocochi, Alice Jacob, Jim Lawrence, Gary Slagle, Lindsay Stack, and Charlie Steinmetz. Thanks, everybody. Residents and taxpayers of the borough are permitted to comment on current matters of concern or agenda items which are before council this evening. If you would like to address council, we ask that you please stand at the microphone, give your name, spell your last name, and give your address so you will be properly identified for the minute record. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. And we have some who have signed up. Looks like Jonathan T. Coach, is that correct? Okay, all right, good point. Amy Johnson.
Amy Johnston, 2560 Alden Drive. Good evening. Sorry, want to apologize for my absence in March. I wasn't able to attend. That was my meeting and I couldn't attend. I'm sorry, I had a medical procedure the night before. I did have an opportunity though to watch the whole meeting on the video a few days later after it was posted. So I'm not here this evening to discuss what happened or anything. I just wanted to extend a thank you. As you know, with Cardinal Ridge, it was a very difficult process, a very long process. A lot of questions, a lot of concerns. As I was listening, I heard a lot of concerns regarding both my property and that of our residents. And I was really quite impressed with the questions that were brought up and the concerns that were brought up. And it was interesting to hear my name being brought up, even though I wasn't here. So, but in all due respect, as the daughter of a former Ross Township Commissioner, I do know what you guys go through. It's not easy. It's very waning, and I do appreciate it. Even though it wasn't in my favor, I do appreciate your time and effort that you put into it. The additional comment that I wanted to make, and I don't think it came up last month, but it was in your work session video, is the fireman tax forgiveness. I'm a big supporter and proponent of that. When it does come up for discussion, I do feel that it is certainly, I don't want to say a benefit, but an honor for those who serve as our volunteer first responders. I think it's a little gesture with just a little bit of work that we can say thank you. I know it was mentioned that there's about 15 to 25 members who would qualify. That's not a lot. No, amongst you this evening are at least 3 official volunteer firemen, and I appreciate their service. And behind those men who do serve are women as well. And not only that, it's their home front too. I am a wife of a volunteer fireman, as well as a mother of a junior volunteer fireman. And I got to see my daughter in action one time, 16 years old, out there on the interstate, a 79, doing the junior fireman work of cleaning up. And it's scary. And it really brings you into perspective of what these men and women do volunteer wise for our community. And it's something that they really should be honored for. My last 2 comments. Number 1, I just wanted to make comment in regards to the website. It's not user friendly. I would like to see some changes done to the website. It would be nice to see some links to those like Allegheny County links and other links that are in our ordinances. It would be nice if we could just click on it rather than going to another website and looking it up and then printing out a 200, 500 pages like I did. That would be beneficial. Also, if there was a way that we could just link our ordinances to one link, that would be good. Beneficial, help. In an issue of permits, what do you need permits for? What do you don't need permits for? And lastly, as I was watching the video, I couldn't see you guys. I don't know if we could place the video somewhere else so I know who's actually, or we know who's actually speaking. I think that would be benefit. But other than that, a personal thank you. And I thank those who voted no against it. It would have been nice to see it go to a special meeting or a special vote, just so those, whatever concerns there were, could be talked about a little bit more. But again, thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the effort.
Thank you, Amy. Next, we have a Dave Johnson. You can speak now. There will be a discussion by council regarding pickleball. However, we have put it last on the agenda so that we can hear the comments regarding pickleball in advance. So the process as outlined in the announcement that was made is we will hear public comments at the beginning of the meeting. We will do our regular motions, and then after the final motion, council will again in public forum here discuss the pickleball. And after that, if a decision is made or not, once again, public comments can follow. But by then, the council will have made its discussion and its decision to move forward in one direction or another. So so anybody, if they have comments about pickleball, I would advise them to make those comments now.
My name is Dave Johnson, 2256. So I know pickleball has been on the agenda many times. What are you looking for as council from the public? Mr. Parks, I know you said you have 192 emails about this. So you know the public's definitely in favor of using balls as pendant and against the softballs. I know we have 3 people that want the softballs to be used, but that's kind of making sure that nobody else in the community can play. You said earlier the softballs are not available. So if we can't use regular balls and softballs are not available, nobody can use the courts. So with the 192 people that have already spoken to you, some Facebook comments I'd be happy to read. What else do you need from the public to know that it's of interest to us? Or can we present facts to you? What are you looking for from the public tonight? As an example, I mean, I don't know if you guys don't seem to look at a lot of facts. You seem to look for opinions from neighbors. You know, I've looked on the internet, and in one of the cases in Arizona, they recommended courts be 150 feet away from the houses. That was from a sound engineer from Arizona, 150 feet away. I looked at the Google Maps, and I don't know if you can see, but here's where the courts are. in this little circle right here, this is 150 feet away. These houses, the neighbors, they're already 450 feet away. They're 3 times as far away from the courts as the sign division recommends to be. One of the neighbors is 5 times away from the minimum distance. I mean, are you guys looking at facts like this, or are you just hearing a neighbor 5 times as far away as they need to be saying they hear a little ping every now and then? I've never sat in a meeting with you where you've actually pulled out maps, looked at anything. A sound study was performed. The solicitor said before, he's not even sure what the noise laws are. He doesn't know if anything's being violated or not. I mean, you guys are like forming opinions based on the neighbors saying they hear noise. What facts have you guys ever discussed to talk about this? No meetings I've ever been in. I've been on the neighbor's deck. We couldn't hear a sound of the ball. Some of you on the council were there as well. Is there even a problem? You're saying tonight you're going to decide whether to do the status quo or whether to allow the hard balls or allow hard balls to be played. Why is the status quo even? Shouldn't there be another option, going back to unrestricted play? How the softballs were supposed to be a temporary solution, a trial solution. We had the trial's over, go back to unrestricted play, and then deliberate on how it's going to be going forward. We're looking for a compromise. We don't want to say, we do know the neighbors want to have some peace and quiet. So we're willing to say, let's do some half and half. Let's do some 5 ball hours, some regular ball hours. Neighbors don't want to become compromised. That's why this is before the council all the time. Every time you roll and try to make a compromise, they complain. And we're all tired of being up here talking. So I guess I would like you to decide tonight that the trial's over, go back to unrestricted play, go back and huddle up and make a decision on what to do next. Keep in mind, softballs are not going to be available. I know you want to repurpose the courts. You talked about making them a badminton. Now you talked about making them an exercise sport. Pickleball is a popular sport. People want to play it. I'd encourage you to let it be played as it's intended with the regular ball. Have you seen the comments on Facebook? Last I counted, there were 48 comments. One person was in favor of the softballs. The rest of the community is in favor of the hardball. So again, I'm looking for a compromise. Please look at the facts. Please listen to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Would anybody else like to comment?
Hello. Fetterman, and we reside on King Ridge Road, directly behind Old Orchard Park. My last name is spelled F-E-T-T-E-R-M-A-N. And I first want to say thank you to council because I know that this has been ongoing for years. And we definitely appreciate your working with us. So thank you for giving us your time. We have been residents of Franklin Park since May 1st, 2003. For nearly 2 decades, we have enjoyed the quiet neighborhood, the birds singing, the voices of neighbors in their yards, and children playing. We specifically chose to reside in Franklin Park because of the serene setting. The quiet of our neighborhood and solitude of our homes are vital for healthy living, as you can appreciate. We have a need to live in a peaceful environment. According to the dictionary, a need is defined as something essential and very important. As taxpayers, we are entitled to live in peace in our homes and on our properties. The loud, jarring, offensive noise generated by regulation pickleballs does not permit us to enjoy the peace and solitude a person needs and requires from his or her home. As taxpayers, we should not have to endure the loud, nerve-wracking, offensive noise of regulation pickleball play anytime, especially in our own properties. Pickleball players feel they have a right to play their leisure time sport when they want, how they want, where they want, because they too are taxpayers. They aren't. Pickleball is a want It's not a need. According to the dictionary, a want is defined as a desire or a wish. There is a win-win compromise here. The residents can enjoy their homes and live peacefully and comfortably when council continues to require quiet pickleball play at Old Orchard, or council chooses to repurpose the courts. Pickleball players have a choice. Players can choose to use non-regulation quiet balls at Old Orchard Neighborhood Park, or they can choose to play with regulation loud balls at courts other than Old Orchard Park. Players have many choices in the community. We urge council to uphold the required use of quiet, non-regulation pickleball play at Old Orchard Park. If an agreement cannot be reached, then repurpose those courts. Repurpose that court at Old Orchard to serve as a badminton court. After all, badminton is America's #1 family sport. Or a fitness court. Repurpose the court at Old Orchard and add more courts at Blueberry. It's proven that it's okay there. It's not a problem at Blueberry. But like we said, pickleball players have a choice, and the choice is theirs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Fetterman.
My name is Carol Hess, Hess, and I live at 2240 King Ridge Road. I'd also like to thank council too for persevering through this long history of pickleball at Old Orchard Park. The noise level from pickleball has been discussed and studied ad nauseum for 3 years. Our concerns about the noise level are not fabricated and are well documented. The noise from pickleball is a national problem, not just a local problem. In 2020 to 2021, Borough Council considered several options, and the only one that appeared would work was the quiet pickleball, which council decided would be the solution/compromise in the fall of 2021. This was after much discussion in open joint meetings with the pickleball players and the residents, and after receiving the results of the sound study conducted by Mr. Thornton. However, due to the unavailability of the quiet ball in 2021, council decided that starting with the beginning of the 2022 season on April 1st, the quiet balls would be required at Old Orchard Park. After the first month of play in 2022, and based on input from the residents indicating that the noise level from the quiet ball was almost undetectable, council increased the hours of play from dawn to dusk. That compromise has been in place since May of 2022. Now a new group of pickleball players is asking council and the residents to consider a further compromise. But in my mind, this matter has already been thoroughly discussed and considered. The new group of pickleball players is not raising anything new that was not already discussed and considered previously. So I respectfully request that council reach the same conclusion it did in 2021, that quiet balls should be the only balls used at Old Orchard Park. As council is aware, there have been occurrences of non-compliant play at Old Orchard Park, where some pickleball players continue to use the loud regulation type balls despite the quiet ball requirement. My concern is that if loud pickleball were permitted to be used at Old Orchard Park, it would be difficult to enforce, similar to the situation that occurred a couple years ago when council tried limiting the hours of play to 9 to 7 daily, which were mostly ignored. So history has shown that self-regulation has not worked. I'm also offended by the dismissive attitude of the new group of pickleball players, residents' noise complaints. The sound from pickleball is an unnatural sound and cannot be compared to the natural sounds of children's voices playing in the park, or even to voices of volleyball players or lawnmowers. It's apples to oranges. But the pickleball players don't have to take my word for it. Just look at Mr. Thornton's study, in which he found that topography unusually impacts the residents on King Ridge and Old Orchard, so that the sound is amplified when it reaches our houses and sounds much differently than if you're standing next to the courts or living relatively at the same level as the courts. He concluded that the noise emitted by pickleball at Old Orchard Park exceeds the ordinance limit of 60 dBA by as much as 15 dBA at the nearest property on 2236 King Ridge Road. But they don't want to even consider that because they feel they are entitled to play pickleball wherever they want, whenever they want, and however they want. The pickleball players cannot deny that they have many options for playing with the loud balls, as was mentioned previously. The bottom line is I can't move my house. My only option is to move if I don't want to hear loud pickleball play. When I moved here, the park was undeveloped with just walking trails, and the later development plans called for a tennis court, not pickleball courts. Article 1, Section 136-1 of the Borough Code provides that it shall be a nuisance and unlawful for anyone to cause any unnecessary noises or sounds by any means that is physically annoying the comfort of any person, or which is so harsh or so prolonged or unnatural or unusual in use, time, and place that it causes physical discomfort or injury to the lives, health, peace, and comfort of the residents of Franklin Park. Mr. Thornton has opined that the sound of the pickleball is harsh like a gunshot and thus exceeds the maximum dBA level. We have voiced the negative impact of pickleball noise on our lives, health, peace, and comfort. Therefore, we believe the sound of pickleball at Old Orchard Park is a nuisance. Allowing regulation pickleball for 6 hours, as suggested by the pickleball players, would in effect allow a nuisance to occur in violation of the borough's code. And we know from past history that failed self-regulation would mean more than 6 hours of a nuisance. Thus, we urge council to keep the quiet ball rule at Old Orchard Park. We believe it is a fair and reasonable compromise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hess. Anybody else like to speak?
Hi, Reuben Clark, 2238 King Ridge Road. I just want to take a minute. I was excited to hear today during the previous meeting talking about long-term. Here we are. We're looking for long-term. We have to start realizing that for 3 years, we've been trying to find a solution, and the solution may just not be what's in Old Orchard. We have to start going back to our roots. What does Acorn Park offer? Nature. What does Lynbrook offer? Nature. What did Old Orchard Park used to offer? Nature. That's what we're missing. You want us to go away. You want pickleballers to be happy. We have to start designating the where. Where do we put this that works? We've had our data now. We know it works in Blueberry. Blueberry Hill Park works. We've had that test. We can put more there. I'm saying right at the bottom of the hill, you have bathrooms down there. You could have that bottom section. You could put 4 more pickleball courts there. We have to start being realistic. Old Orchard Park needs to go back to its roots. The roots involve nature. I love the idea of fitness. When you go down there, there are people using the already existing fitness equipment there on a daily basis. Imagine if they had what McCandless had. My son plays soccer there every single night at McCandless. I go by people using those machines every single night. It would be an amazing addition to that location. It'd go back to its roots. You have nature. You'd be able to put more pickleball courts in a location that has been now deemed suitable, Blueberry Hill Park. And if all works out, if McCandless helps us out with Wall Park, we might have some there. But only worrying about our parks and what we need, we have to start looking long-term. We have to start asking ourselves, are we continuing the Band-Aid, or are we going to actually have this conversation and fix this problem? They get what they want. We get what our community needs, a park that is about its roots, nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments at this point? Seeing none. As an alternative to written comments, you can submit it via email, provided it's submitted prior to the noon on the day of the meeting. And we have had 2 comments submitted. Both were by Carrie Cannon of 2237 King Ridge Road. The first one was in support of the continued use of the low noise pickleball at Old Orchard Park. And there was a description of the reasons why, but many of it was been repeated here tonight. The second by the same individual asked council to supply for the record the contact name and information for the person or persons responsible for enforcing local ordinance, especially the deer culling situation. And our recommendation to that individual is to call the borough, ask for the manager, Reed Ebner, and he will point her in the right direction, and I'm certain answer her questions. Okay. Monthly reports. The minutes of the April 19th, 2023 pre-meeting, the April 19th, 2023 regular meeting, and the May 3rd, 2023 work session minutes were given to the mayor and council. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move the minutes of the April 19th, 2023 pre-meeting, the April 19th, 2023 regular meeting, and the May 3rd, 2023 work session be approved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Treasurer's financial report, Mrs. Crane. Thank you, Mrs. Crane.
Move the April treasurer's report, a financial report be accepted as read.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Police report, Mayor O'Keefe.
Yes, Mr. President, for the month of April, our Franklin Park Police had 695 calls for service, resulting in 14 arrests, 2 DUI, 1 simple assault, 1 retail theft, 2 fraud, 2 criminal mischief, 3 harassment, 1 driving under suspension, and 2 dumping. 57 citations were issued and 157 warnings. That completes the police report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Recommend the police report be filed with the police secretary.
Fire report, Mr. Mizlenski.
Thank you, Mr. President. In April, the fire company responded to 28 emergency calls, 6 dispatched and canceled en route, 4 alarm system activations, 4 vehicle accidents, 3 windstorm weather damage, 3 good intent calls, 2 assist police with traffic control, local and Pennsylvania State Police, 2 unauthorized burning, 1 power line down, 1 natural gas leak, 1 medical assist, and 1 building fire. Volunteer man hours for the month of April totaled 563, and year-to-date volunteer man hours 2,067. End of report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mizlenski. Building inspector's report, Mr. Phillips.
President, inspection report for April 2023, 20 permits were issued per month. Total value, 20 permits were issued per month, 2 single-family dwellings, 4 remodels, 6 decks, 2 fences, 1 swimming pool, 1 outbuilding, and miscellaneous permits. The total valuation of construction was $1,287,621. Total fees collected for the month of $16,605. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Borough Council held an executive session on April 19th, 2023 to discuss a police grievance in Yocus litigation, and Borough Council held an executive session on May 3rd, 2023 to discuss the Yocus condemnation appeal in the Washington Lane and a police grievance. Old business, none. New business.
Move council authorize the payment of the bills which have been reviewed and approved since the last meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Harley Stone, who is replacing our solicitor tonight, who could not be with us.
Thank you. At this time, Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park will hold a public hearing on a conditional use application submitted by Ronald H. and Marlene B. Rabel for a property located at 1590 Arndt Road in the R2 zoning district. Assessment records show that the property is 2.04 acres. The property is currently improved with a single-family residential dwelling. The applicants intend to reconstruct a lawful non-conforming 1,440 square foot, two-story accessory garage / storage structure on the property. Conditional use approval is sought to construct an 8 by 24 foot deck on the structure pursuant to section 212-1907 in parentheses G in parentheses of the zoning ordinance for an accessory structure over 1,000 square feet, which would expand the footprint of the accessory garage in excess of the 1,000 square feet. Before we start taking testimony and swearing witnesses, I would like to introduce certain exhibits which we are required by law to do. We'll call these Borough Exhibits A through G. I'll have copies of them marked for the court reporter, and she can take them with her. The first is the application for the conditional use, which was received on March 27, 2023. That'll be Borough A. Borough B is a text of section 212-1907 in parentheses G, entitled Accessory Use Regulations. Borough Exhibit C will be the text of section 212-1803, which are the general conditional use criteria that we apply to any conditional use application. Borough Exhibit D is the public hearing proof of publication from April 27, 2023 and May 4, 2023. Borough E is a picture of the posting of the premises. So Borough D and E are notice requirements which the municipality's planning code requires us to adhere to. Borough F is the staff report of April 18, 2023. All conditional uses go first to the Planning Commission, and tonight council receives the recommendation of the Planning Commission. That's the staff report. Borough G is the Planning Commission decision letter of April 19, 2023, which contains their recommendations to council tonight. With that, I would ask that anybody seeking to become a party to these proceedings indicate so now by standing up, raising your hand, or just letting us know. Yes, sir. Nope, you're automatically a party. Is there anybody other than the Rabels who wish to be recognized as party? Okay, thank you. Will the court reporter please swear in anyone who intends to testify? Mr. Rabel, I believe that would be you.
Do you solemnly swear that testimony about the gift is not being heard?
My name is Ronald H. Raybould. I live at 1590 Arndt Road, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15237. And the first thing I'd like to say is I do not play pickleball. Do you have, do you have any questions for me? You have all the information. I don't know if any of the neighbors had objections. I know letters went out to them. We're replacing I guess you'd call it barn that was built back in the thirties by my wife's grandfather, where he had draft horses and cows back then, when Franklin Park was more of a rural area than it is now. So we're replacing that building, which really needed to be replaced, with a 24 by 30 garage, two-story garage. The top story will be for storage, et cetera. And we want to put a deck on the one side, 24 by 8. My wife wants to put plants, put some vegetables. We have a herd of deer and we can't plant anything. So this deck will help us to do that. And my son, who testified at the planning commission, he has a telescope that he wants to put that out so that he can observe the stars. So, I mean, I don't know what more to say. We have 2 acres. The deck will not be seen by anybody because there's hundreds of feet between all the areas. We're well wooded. So I would appreciate your approval.
Right?
So is there anybody else who wishes to testify, or is there any other evidence that anybody wishes to submit in connection with this application? Questions? Okay. So with that, we will close the evidentiary record on this matter, and we can end the hearing, after which council will vote on the council's options are to approve, to deny, or to approve subject to condition. The recommendation of your planning commission was to approve subject to the conditions set forth in the staff report, and there were a few of those.
Do we need a motion to close the hearing?
We should take a motion to close the hearing, yes?
Okay, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion?
Before we close the hearing, I want to introduce the Borough Exhibit A through G. Now we can entertain.
Okay. I move that we close the public hearing.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Closed. Okay. All right. So, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the conditional use application CU 23-04-01 submitted by Ron and Marlene Raybold for garage addition larger than 1,000 square feet of GFA on the property located at 1590 Arndt Road in the R2 zoning district, contingent upon compliance with the building inspector zoning officer's staff report dated April 25th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, council members. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your deck, Mr. Reed. Keep those deer away.
Move to I'm sorry. I'll do this when you catch me. Move the set aside agreement in the amended amount. I'm sorry. Move to approve the site and plan and stormwater revisions for the Nicholson Heights plan. Preliminary and final subdivision application SPF 22-04-01 as originally approved by resolution number 1304-2022 on July 20th, 2022, and contingent upon compliance with the letter from Lennon Smith Solar Ray Engineering Incorporated dated April 10th of 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Move to set aside agreement in the amended amount of $599,970 for the Deerfield State Plan Phase 1 be reduced by $44,190, leaving a balance of $500 $555,780 in accordance with the letter from the Nanosmith Storage and Engineering and Inc. dated May 3rd, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? All in
Engineer,
favor?
No, so for the Deerfield and I'm curious why that and what they have done that to let the be reduced by 44,000.
So the bulk of this request was for sidewalks. Piece of sidewalk was installed along the frontage of Nicholson towards Taylor Ridge, and then on the constructed lots throughout the development. A little bit of ENS control cleanup, but the vast majority of it was for constructed sidewalks.
And we know how much you released to, was there any discrepancy between what they asked for and what you determined?
There was not. Our recommendation matches the developer's request this time.
Pretty rare.
Just one question, for that reduction. This does not, there are funds still left and it's considered outstanding that they complete the sidewalk still to Taylor Ridge, the connection portion, right?
Yes, this is proportionate to just what was installed. So everything left on the plan that hasn't been installed is still being held.
No more questions.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to acknowledge receipt of the borough's engineer's letter dated May 3rd, 2023, recommending that the borough accept the request for acceptance of the Willow Ridge plan and direct the solicitor to prepare the required maintenance agreement and ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move the borough enter into a first addendum to the development agreement with Memory Lane Ventures LLC for the development and construction of the Bliss Residential Land Development Plan located off Washington Lane.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mr. President, just to note, I've abstained from voting and I have my written notice on file for that reason.
Notice, yep. Let's see, summarize ordinance number 676-2023, Mr. Stone.
Ordinance number 676-2023 is an ordinance of the council of the Borough of Franklin Park, which repeals and restates chapter 19 in the code of the Borough of Franklin Park, known as claims municipal, adopting a schedule of attorney's fees in connection with the collection of taxes, tax claims, tax liens, municipal claims, and municipal liens pursuant to Act 1 of 1996 and Act 20 of 2003, adopting a schedule of charges, expenses, and fees pursuant to the municipal claims and tax liens law, and repealing any other ordinances inconsistent therewith.
Second.
Move to enact ordinance number
Sorry.
676 of 2023, repealing and restating chapter 19 in the code of the Borough of Franklin Park, claims municipal, adopting a schedule of attorney fees in connection with the collection of taxes, tax claims, tax liens, municipal claims, and municipal liens pursuant to Act 1 of 1996 and Act 20 of 2003, adopting a schedule of charges, expenses, and fees pursuant to the municipal claims and tax liens law, and repealing any other ordinance inconsistent herewith.
And again.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Stone, would you summarize ordinance number 677-2023?
Yes, Mr. President, ordinance number 677-2023 is an ordinance of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the condemnation by eminent domain of certain real property for municipal purposes.
Move to enact ordinance number 677-2023, authorizing the condemnation by eminent domain of real property for municipal purposes.
Second.
Just by way of information, ask Mr. Ebner to explain what that really means.
This condemnation is for a piece of property that the borough has entered into a sales agreement to potentially purchase. And as part of the transaction, the seller has asked that we do a condemnation so that he can take a tax credit for that.
This is a common practice. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to authorize the purchase of a new 2023 Exmark 52-inch walk-behind mower with accessories for the Parks Department from Jefferson Hills Lawn Equipment of Jefferson Hills, Pennsylvania, at a cost of $7,319 after trade-in.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Stone, would you summarize resolution number 1331-2023?
Yes, Mr. President, resolution number 1332-2023 is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending the McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority's Articles of Incorporation to extend the authority's term of existence.
Motion 12, Harley.
Ah. Wait a minute. Thank you. What is that?
It's the trade-in of the
Trade-in.
Exmark.
Thank you. Stuck, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, summarizing motion number 1331-2023. That resolution is a resolution of Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing certain borough personal property to be traded in or exchanged for new or used personal property being acquired by the borough.
Move to adopt resolution number 1331-2023, authorizing the trade-in of one 2014 Exmark 52-inch turf tracer walk-behind mower for the amount of $1,200 for the purchase of a new 2023 Exmark 52-inch walk-behind mower previously authorized.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor O'Keefe, would you read the proclamation for Emergency Medical Service Week 2023?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd be honored to do so. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through May 27th, 2023, as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme, Where Emergency Care Begins. And we encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Proclaimed the 17th day of May, 2023. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Move to proclaim the week of May 21 through May 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Stone, would you summarize resolution number 1332-2023?
Yes, Mr. President, resolution number 1332-2023 is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending the McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority's Articles of Incorporation to extend the authority's term of existence.
Move to adopt the resolution number 1333-2023, amending the McCandless and Franklin Park Ambulance Authority's Article of Incorporation to extend the authority's term of existence.
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
Authority has a permanent
50 years.
It's
I believe.
50 years. And so it needs to be renewed.
renewed, so everybody, every community is part of that authority, has to go through this process. After the community.
Thank you. Next motion, please.
Move to authorize. Excuse me. Move to authorize the annual donation to McCandless Franklin Park Ambulance Authority in the amount of $105,500.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to renew the annual commercial services agreement with Bolster DeHart, Inc. of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15237 for heating and air conditioning maintenance and emergency service at 6 borough facilities, including the municipal building, Public Works Building, Blueberry Hill Park Activity Center, Blueberry Hill Park Maintenance Building, Clover Hill Golf Course Clubhouse, and the Clover Hill Golf Course Maintenance Building at a total cost of $3,322.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move the real estate tax collector be exonerated from collecting borough real estate taxes in the amount of $490.45, and the borough be exempted from paying these borough real estate taxes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Stone, would you summarize resolution number 1333-2023?
Yes, Mr. President, resolution number 1333-2023 is a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Franklin Park, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending and revising the schedule of fees per borough ordinance.
Move to adopt the resolution number 1333-2023, amending and revising the schedule of fees for borough ordinance to amend the rates for codes and building and fire prevention.
Second.
Any discussion?
If I recall, Mr. Phillips' discussion about this is an attempt to bring up the fees for dealing with things like inspections and permitting and things like that haven't been brought up in a while. And this helps our taxpayers in the borough because we're not footing the bill for things that involve development, permitting.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. As indicated earlier, we had sent out a special notification concerning pickleball, and that notification said at the very last line, the topic will be whether to maintain the status quo or to reopen discussions regarding the posted rules and regulations for Old Orchard Park. With that, I'm opening up to council for final decision in that area and discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, we held a Parks and Rec Committee meeting earlier on this issue. I think it was summarized pretty well, what our options are. I would like to say that while I know this is an emotional issue, I do think it is important that we're all operating from the same set of facts. The compromise that was reached at the end of, I guess it was 2021, did involve somewhat of a trial on the softballs. As was stated earlier, we tried that for about a month and then we agreed to that compromise. It is not still in the trial phase. We did in fact conduct an extensive sound study that found that noise does violate the level that we've set in our ordinances. While I disagree that internet searches are the best place to find facts, you can do internet searches on the noise for pickleball and see that it is a real. It's not something unique to Franklin Park. What is unique to Old Orchard is the topography, and that was discussed in the sound study as well. So that may be different from other places where a flat, dry environment, maybe 150 feet distance from a court to a house is appropriate. Whereas here, obviously, there's still an issue. One of the largest issues I believe that we do face is enforcement. We tried compromises with ours. We've found self-enforcement to be a problem. Self-enforcement of the quiet pickleball seems to be an issue as well. It was stated, and it's true that we did discuss in the committee meeting that softballs are not readily available. That is true. Mr. Brower said we do have a quantity of about 50, which hopefully will get us through providing these balls at the court for the rest, excuse me, of 2023. I believe those are the facts. Hopefully we can all agree upon that and have a discussion.
Comments, council members?
Mr. President, just to comment to one of the comments Mr. Johnson made when this was going on. I personally do have a map I made up of the distance to every home from the center of the pickleball court to each of the residents. And I think some of them, I'm going from memory, was close to 750 or 800 feet away. Most of council, if not everybody, visited many of the homes along King Ridge and down Old Orchard Drive during the day while pickleball play was ongoing. This before any changes were made. And certainly the sound was very audible, and I can understand after standing on several of the rear yards and back porches of the residents along those two roads why it might be a concern. I just recently started wearing hearing aids, so my hearing's never, I wouldn't call mine the best in the world. And it was certainly audible even from the most distant home, which would be the corner of King Ridge and Old Orchard. So it certainly can be heard, and it certainly is much improved with the use of the quiet pickleballs. I think that's pretty irrefutable. But I do think that we did do our due diligence in investigating that. I think most of the people that are spoke in favor of what the council had done will remember that we did walk those streets, and I think it was a Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken. And remember, it was a pretty warm day too. We were out of multiple backyards that day, and we picked that so that we could have the benefit of people playing pickleball during the time that we were doing that. I will admit that it did vary somewhat from house to house, but the topography in that area is extremely unique. And part of my professional career as a professional engineer, I was involved in a lot of acoustical studies at UPMC, primarily with vibration related to MRIs and other very sensitive medical equipment, and also very noisy mechanical equipment on top of buildings, such as cooling towers, chillers, compressors, that led to a lot of community complaints. I wouldn't even want to tell you the stories working at Shady Side Hospital with all the residents on Ellsworth Avenue behind that, and with the Port Authority busway, and the screen walls that we built and the low noise fan blades we put on cooling towers. So I've worked with Mr. Thornton's father, actually, who's unfortunately has passed away professionally. That's not why we brought him in. Never met his son, but I think we located him to do it, and he seemed very professional, just like his father was. So I do have to, I just wanted to set the record straight that we did do our due diligence, and Mr. Johnson, I know you may not have been involved at that time, but I want you to have the benefit of knowing that this wasn't an easy decision. There was, I forget the number of thousands of dollars that we spent on this. And I'll be real honest, I think if council would have known that this would have been an issue at the time the park was constructed, certainly we wouldn't have put that court in there. I mean, nobody had any suspicions that this was going to be the situation that we were leading to. It would not be in our purview to come up with any recreational facility that would impact the residents in the area. I mean, why would we do that? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not saying we made a mistake. We just didn't look in the right places. Didn't realize at that time that the upward topography and the way the sun bounces in that particular area is somewhat unique to that site. That would have been perfectly flat. I think Mr. Johnson's study that he cited that said 150 feet might have been enough for that sign to dissipate. That might have worked, but not in the valley and the topography that we're dealing with here. That's all, Mr. President. I just wanted to add that to what we've already heard.
Thank you. Other comments from council?
Mr. Parks, I am concerned that taxpayers' money went to construct the pickleball courts the way they did. And that we have taxpayers that are concerned that the money went to the construction and that we're not taking them into consideration in their interest in playing pickleball in the community. I think one of the things we did discuss was the notion of forward planning. And I think that that's something that we definitely need to look towards, and making certain that there are enough resources for our pickleball players, because that seems to be a very big demand here in Franklin Park and elsewhere.
Go ahead.
Alan?
Yeah, I have a comment, Mr.
Yes, sir.
President. I resided here in Franklin Park for 47 years now. I don't live on Old Orchard, but I live on Sandhurst, which is not as close as the Old Orchard homes, but I'm still in that area. And I remember back when that was just a field, 13 acres, nothing but field. And when the discussion started to take place as to what was going to happen in that park, the borough was very open with all of us. And I can recall having several meetings as to how the park was going to be constructed and the type of activity that was going to take place there. So it was, Wendy Clark was the president, was the mayor at that time. But it was sold to, or described, that'd be a better word. It was described to the surrounding homes, and I was part of that audience, although I wasn't in a close proximity like the others are. It was described as going to be a low impact park. It was no lights, no public, no professional play. It was just going to be a nice park. And I just wanted to share that with you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Powell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for all the context, everyone. Just a couple of thoughts. I know we talked back in the previous session during the Park meeting. I do understand that the balls that were recommended as part of the agreement are on back order or they are no longer being produced. Could be due to multiple issues such as market demand. I believe one of our action items is to follow up and just see where that stands. I mean, it depends on how that plays out. If they truly are not manufacturing that ball anymore and there are no other options, we might have to, my thought is we've built this for its public service. There's a lot of benefits here. However, I do think we need to think about this long term. That's one thing I brought up back there and Brian brought up again. These courts have longevity. If it is not the right place for the court, then, we need to start exploring other avenues as we start this long-term planning. Because otherwise we're going to be in this endless cycle every year of, are they making the balls? Are they not making the balls? It's not solvable long-term. I mean, some possible things that we can look at, there's soundproofing available. Some municipalities nationally have done this, given the topography. And we're not talking about the netting, we're talking about actual soundproofing. Not doming it, but the barriers around the sides. That actually could be mitigating the noise.
They did address that in the sound study, Mr. Pallett. I don't think you were around then, but they said any kind of barrier like that would have to be at least as high as the houses, which would
Because of the
very, very high.
topography, the homes are above the courts, and therefore.
All right. Yeah, I mean, those are some of the thoughts. And then with your comment to the parks, yeah, I mean, parks. This is one of our parks. It's one of those parks that's evolved. So, I do think that, look, there are a lot of advocates, not just advocates, but players of pickleball, beginner levels mostly, and then some advanced level players. So it's something that, if we can see where these balls land, if they truly are being made, it's one avenue, but if they're not, I think looking at the duration time allowed, that might be the option here, or the route. Sounds like we have 50 balls left, or give or take, so that might run us through part of the summer.
Any other discussion? From my perspective, Johnson mentioned that I had received 192 emails, which is correct, but they weren't all in favor of pickleball. They were some in favor, some against, but mostly they were emails that discussed the challenges associated with this over a 2 and a 7-month period. And while we're talking about numbers, in the last 6 months, there have been 128 resolutions or ordinance changes or motions, and you've seen them tonight, 18 of those. Council does not only have to deal with pickleball, we have to deal with all the issues associated with the borough. We have spent endless hours on this. We really do need to move on. So I'm going to ask council, and this is not a motion, this is just a request for council to say, do we move on from here with status quo, or as the motion had mentioned, do we consider potential changes in the future? So I'd ask council to say, each member to say, move forward with status quo or no.
I believe we should move forward with the status quo, at least while we investigate the ball situation. I believe that the 50 balls should get us through this season. If we truly can't get them anymore, then we can address that in the future. I do agree with Mr. Malkin and Mr. Pallett that we need a long-term plan and to try and get more courts, but I believe we should keep the status quo.
Dr. Lee?
I agree with Luke, and so we will definitely need to look for the long-term plan and to address this one, because this issue, has come up so many times. Some people are against, some people are for this, and so it's really it's really a big issue for the local community. I really, feel like today, we need to probably do more investigation and to address this issue. Because I always visit the Blueberry Park and I've seen like many people, playing like pickleball there. Looks like people are really good with that. So maybe we can look at the option of building more like pickleball playing field there to address like if people want to play that regular ball and they can come to the Blueberry Park to play. So it's my opinion.
Status quo. Is that
Yeah.
right? Mr. Schwartzmeyer.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement the same way. I mean, I listened to, Mrs. Fetterman and her comments. And I think I've already expressed those comments prior to hearing them from Mrs. Fetterman to some of the council people that while I think everybody would like to have everything in their neighborhood, that's a want, but the needs of everybody is a quiet, stable place to live. So, in my opinion, I think we should investigate if we can find these quiet balls. The company that manufactured them, I think if you were in the pre-meeting, I didn't realize this until I just Googled it and looked it up. They're in Pittsburgh here, right in Homestead, I believe, and they have a 412 phone number. So I'm going to call them tomorrow. I'm just going to ask them the simple question. They're not showing on their website, so I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but are they just out of production? Will they ever come back? Is the demand so great they just don't even list them because they're selling them faster? I don't know why they're not listed or what the situation is. But I'm willing to take 5 minutes tomorrow and hopefully find out that some of that information, if I could reach a person. But I could not see going back to the noise levels that we witnessed when we did the sound study and when we walked the neighborhoods that one Saturday. And I know I was up in several yards a second time, so I wouldn't want to go back to that situation with the standard pickleball.
Thank you. Ralph.
Agree with that.
Much of it means based on all the information, all the
Powell?
Yeah, so personally, I would turn it into a basketball court or something usable. But however, we are talking about collective of residents, right? Now, we have an action item to look at the ball, see if we are finding that. And we are going to look at a long-term plan. So because we are going to do that, if the ball level does drop in the coming weeks or the coming months, I do think we need to revisit it. For now, I'm fine with the current plan that has been recommended, knowing that we will be doing these other actions. I think like long-term, there's got to be a better plan for this than to just use up green space for the court. Maybe back then that was the thing, but for where it's landed, it hasn't really yielded a benefit, which is pretty sad. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Mayor, would you like to add anything? at this
I'll have a comment after you, state your side.
point? Okay, I'm a status quo.
Okay.
We have to
All right,
find
then
out where those balls may be available, but
Okay.
we've got to keep it as it is.
then I would like to go on record as agreeing with the, council decision. Status quo.
Thank
Mr. Parks, should we recommend that we stop selling the balls that we have currently on hand and
The
save them
current
for
limit
use at
on
the,
the individual is two.
is that right, Zach, too?
Per individual. I'm concerned that if you don't sell them to someone, they won't be able to use them. But, well, if we can provide that there's always some available up there, I agree.
In my opinion, that's our best route.
Yeah.
Zach says he makes sure there's about half a dozen every week.
So we have enough to keep a supply there and we'll go ahead with that. We run out, we'll address that issue and maybe it will be good news that Tom talks to the representative. Okay. I think we're all agreed. Thank you for everybody who testified tonight. It's tough for all of you, I understand. Final comments, Mr. Ebner.
I'd just like to again congratulate the scholarship winners who are all gone at this point. And thank the scholarship committee for their hard work.
Mr. Stone, any final comments?
None. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure substituting for Max.
Thank you. Mayor O'Keefe.
Well, just to congratulate the scholarship, recipients and wishing them success as they continue on their education. From what we saw here tonight, I think we have a great number of candidates that are going to be very successful as they endure they pursue their life dreams. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Pally.
Thanks, Mr. Stone, for subbing for Max tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks to all, best of luck to all the scholarship winners. And then just a reminder, I believe Sunday is an open house at the Ambulance Authority. There is some sort of open house. It's either this Sunday or the following. Can't remember which one. 21st. Yep. So I think they have a couple of things on display.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. Mislinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to congratulate the scholarship winners and thank the Scholarship Selection Committee for their hard work. It's a lot of work compressed into a very short period of time, so I know we all appreciate that. I also did want to say that Mr. Paladin and I serve on the borough's comprehensive plan steering committee with Ohio Township. We do have a very rough draft of the comprehensive plan. The engineers are putting together a final draft. Shortly after that, it will be available for public review for 45 days this summer. So we're really looking forward to that process. All the work that everybody's put in, you guys can take a look at it and let us know what you think. So that'll be out soon. I'm sure we'll let everybody know in all the ways that we can when it's ready.
Thank you. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, and Mr. President, and since that all council members have there's so many things, and I just want to share some story and my personal story with one of the scholarship and the recipient, and this Sophia, and she's I've known her like for many years and moved here like 12 years ago. and she's a really great student who has done a lot of work and community and work and kind of congratulate and her and before the meeting. And I kind of feel like this scholarship really and set a good example and for the whole Franklin Park Borough, and it's really great for the young student to be able to use this money for some good purpose, like pay tuition or even take a vacation. Or something. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Mr. Schwartzmeyer.
Yeah, I'd like to also congratulate the scholarship recipients. For many years, I used to be on the other side where I had to evaluate multiple applications when professional engineers used to give like 40 out a year. We would get 100 applications. We'd have to try to put them together. We'd work whole weekends at somebody's house sorting them out. So the committee does a really, really nice job trying to figure out who the most deserving students are. And I think their job is probably eased a little bit because of the high quality students we generally have in our borough and in the North Allegheny School District. Currently, I think I missed 1 year, but probably the public doesn't know about this, but there's a national math competition every year called Math Counts. It's done all 50 states. And we run it in Allegheny County here for the Pittsburgh chapter of the professional engineers. And we had about 175 middle school students compete this year. Last few years, we've been holding it over at the A.W. Beatty Career Center. So we have to get 45 or 50 people to grade the tests, and it's 6 or 7 hour competition. And it seems like almost every year, one of the North Allegheny middle schools is either first, second, or third place in the competition. I think this year Carson and Ingomar both finished in the top 3. So I see from that perspective how these kids are so smart. I don't want to digress, but they'll put up a math problem. I haven't even read it and the kid's buzzing in with the answer. And I'm thinking, I can't read as fast as they can read and solve a relatively complicated problem. So just to build on the scholarship thing, I'm so glad the borough does this because the students are good and they're very deserving. And our schools, I just wanted to throw some kudos out to our schools too, because they truly are. North Allegheny District, I see it from this because this is the whole county, truly is one of the best school districts in this county, if not the best. These kids are so smart, you'd be amazed. So anyway, sorry to digress, but I wanted to share that because I feel really good about what we're doing and what the school district does. Thank you.
Mr. Giacomo. Thank you. All right.
Good job tonight.
Let's see. Borough Engineer, Sean.
Yes, nothing further this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Ms. Aaron. Mr. Phillips. Mr. Brower. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Crane. Okay. I would just like to mention one decision that council made tonight in our pre-meeting relates to a concept called TAPS for veterans. We agreed that we would have a bugler in front of Franklin Elementary School at 3 p.m. Memorial Day in celebration of all those who have died in military service to our country. So it's a very special thing. For the last few years, I think it was since 2019, all American citizens are asked to pause for 1 minute at 3 p.m. on Memorial Day And in that sense, we will also have a student from North Allegheny, a bugler from North Allegheny, play taps at that point. So we will advertise it and on the website. I think that's it. One final chance for public comments. If anybody would like to make a final comment, they're welcome to step to the microphone and go ahead. Other than that, Mr. Knock, any hands raised on Zoom?
I see no hands raised.
Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Harley. Thanks for hanging out with
You guys
us.
had a great meeting.
Tell your wife I'll be in touch with her. I have a feeling.
Tell Max he better step up his game now, you know.
Out of mine. My wife will